I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and in some breaking news that is quite frankly hilarious to see, Donald Trump is showing to the world just how terrified and a small little man he is. Now, as you know, over the past few days, things in the political world have radically been shaken up as President Biden has officially announced that he will no longer be seeking re-election and has fully endorsed Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. Now, while it has yet to be fully made official at the Democratic Convention in Chicago later in August, suffice it to say that it is a safe bet that Kamala Harris will indeed be on the ticket this November. Additionally, there has been plenty of speculation and buzz around who Harris is going to pick as her running mate, though we have seen a number of different names floated around and seem to be rather popular, such as the Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, the Governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, and the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. Now, as of this recording, we still have yet to learn who Harris is going to tap, but suffice it to say, whoever it is going to be a better combination than Trump and Vance. And on that note, Trump's campaign has already begun their slew of attacks against Harris and her experience and her character, as well as a variety of different emailing marketing campaigns to try to rake in donations from their supporters. Now, despite Trump's attack ads and blitz of a marketing campaign, Harris's campaign has already seen a resounding success in donations and fundraising, as we've just learned from an article in Time that Harris was capable of raising $81 million over the course of just 24 hours. Needless to say, that is a lot of money, and I'm sure that Harris and her campaign are relieved to also have seemingly the majority, at least, of the support of congressional Democrats, as well as some serious big-name donors. Now, in addition to having a record-breaking fundraising moment, Harris is also experiencing a wave of popularity and basically embracing the online meme culture that has started to generate around her. Perhaps most notably, we've seen the artist Charlie XCX, who posted "Kamala is Brat," and that has pretty much become a rallying cry around her campaign online. We've also seen the coconut tree meme be kind of another rallying cry or another sort of joke that has spread throughout the campaign and her supporters, and is a reference to a previous speech that Harris provided. All that is to say, there seems to be a newfound energy and a reinvigoration in the Democrats, especially in the younger Democrats, that Harris has managed to tap into, and that has Donald Trump and his campaign terrified, which is what brings us into our breaking story today. For years now, Trump and his advisors have basically been planning and strategizing a campaign to run against President Biden, and with his sudden announcement that he will no longer be seeking re-election and instead he's going to have to be going up against Harris, well, that essentially throws out the playbook. Over the past few days, it has become increasingly clear that Donald Trump is mortified of Kamala Harris and the fact that she was a prosecutor and attorney general. She's not some pushover that Trump is going to be able to simply talk over or push around. She is one hell of a strong woman, and that is exactly what Trump fears most. It's his kryptonite. And it would seem that Harris's strength and the strong start she is experiencing is indeed getting to Trump, as he took to social media the other night. Just after midnight, Trump took to Truth Social and posted, "ABC fake news is such a joke among the absolute worst in the business. They try to make Crooked Joe into a brave warrior because he didn't have the guts to fight it out. He quit. They then tried to make Sleepy look like a great president. He was the worst, and lion Kamala into a competent person, which she is not. ABC, the home of George Slopadopoulous, is not worthy of holding a debate, of which I hope there will be many. MAGA 2024. And of course, if you have two functioning brain cells, you can clearly see Trump is panicking. He is lashing out, and he knows that he cannot possibly hope to stand up against Harris in any semblance of a fair debate. That's also why we've seen him calling recently for the next presidential debate with Harris to be hosted by Guess who? Fox News rather than ABC or really probably any other network. Trump is terrified. He is a coward and he is a small little man, and he knows this. He knows he cannot stand up to Kamala Harris because she will wipe the floor with him, and he needs all the help he can possibly receive. It's why he's looking to Fox News. What's the matter, Donald? Are you afraid? Surely not. I mean, you stood up and pumped your fist after a gunman shot at you and barely missed your head, and you still capitalized on that moment. You're surely not afraid of Kamala Harris, are you? Now, his cowardice aside, Trump's response to Harris being the new nominee is, it was expected. Over the past week, we did see Trump temper a mild amount, especially at the RNC. However, it would seem that that is now long gone, and the goodwill that he perhaps could have capitalized on following the assassination attempt is going to be squandered. Personal attacks are Trump's bread and butter, and it would seem that he is once again leaning back into those toxic traits. And it would seem that I'm not alone in my observations and speculation that he may be once again leaning into this toxicity, as in an article according to the New York Times, Trump's new rival may bring out his harshest instincts. Allies of Harris have already telegraphed that she will run a campaign framed around a prosecutor versus felon theme, highlighting her experience as a prosecutor and underscoring the fact that Mr. Trump has been indicted in multiple jurisdictions and convicted of 34 felonies. It may also goad Mr. Trump, who reacts strongly to criticism, that is an understatement, into resurrecting the language he has used against other black female prosecutors, such as Letitia James in New York and Fani Willis in Georgia, both of whom he has called racist and attacked in personal terms. Now, it would seem that Harris is in fact leaning on that experience as the Attorney General and is not afraid of leveraging that experience against her opponent, saying, quote, "In those roles I took on perpetrators of all kinds, predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type." I must say that even if this debate does ultimately end up taking place on Fox News or ABC or wherever it may be, I am greatly looking forward to it, because no matter where it is, no matter who the moderators are, Harris is going to destroy Donald Trump. And it doesn't take a genius or a degree in psychology to recognize the fact that when your opponent is resorting to personal attacks, when they don't have anything really substantial to criticize your character on, it's because they have nothing. It becomes very personal, and they're becoming increasingly more emotional. And perhaps that is indeed the problem. Perhaps Trump should reconsider his position as the Republican candidate and recognize that his mental acuity might be slipping and that he is, quite frankly, unfit to be president. To further emphasize my point, publicly, Mr. Trump has described her, Kamala Harris of course, as nasty, crazy, and disrespectful, mocked her laugh, mispronounced her name, and promoted a false claim that Miss Harris is constitutionally ineligible to serve as vice president, echoing his racist birther campaign against Barack Obama. And in a post on Truth Social on Monday afternoon, Mr. Trump accused the news media of trying, quote, to turn dumb as a rock Kamala Harris from a totally failed and insignificant vice president into a future great president. No, it just doesn't work that way. Well, I'm sorry to say, Donald, that it does indeed work that way, and that despite your personal attacks and really just old, played-out racist rhetoric, I don't think it's going to work too well for you this time. I really do believe that Harris is the silver bullet to Donald Trump, in that she is an incredibly intelligent and well-composed woman who has already seen some of the worst that humanity has had to offer, quite frankly, as the Attorney General. So I think she has a thick enough skin to handle Donald Trump, and the fact that she's not going to really be too bothered by his rhetoric and his attacks, that's just going to get to him even more. I don't think Trump's going to be able to get under Kamala's skin, and that very fact is going to get under his skin. And because Donald Trump lacks even the slightest amount of self-control or decorum, he's going to increasingly become more vicious in his attacks. They're going to be increasingly more hateful and potentially racist. In summation, though, it does seem that Harris is off to an incredibly strong start. However, there are still many months left before the general election, and as we have already been shown this past month, a heck of a lot can change. So, in the meantime, if you feel so inclined to, and if you feel like Kamala Harris is indeed a good and qualified candidate, consider going and donating to her campaign, or at the very least, make sure you register to vote if you haven't, and if you are registered, mark your calendars. Tuesday, November 5th, that is the big day where we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.